Welcome to Crayola Creativity Week. Today's theme is story creation, reading and writing. And our special guest creators are Max Greenfield and Mike Lowery. Hi, guys. We're so pleased to have you with us today.
Hello.
Hello.
Max, please introduce yourself and explain how creativity helped you solve a problem or reach a goal as an actor and author.
I would love to. My name is Max Greenfield. I'm so excited to be here for Crayola's Creativity Week. I'm here because I'm sometimes an actor, but also a new author. And I've written the book, I Don't Want to Read This Book. And it's illustrated by the enthusiastic Mike Lowery, who's also here with us today. Creativity has been probably the biggest part of my life. I use it every day as an actor, as an author, as a human being. It gets me in trouble sometimes because sometimes my family says, just do what you're told. And I want to do it differently. I want to create things. And that's what creativity has been for me. It's been the way that I look at things in the world. Sometimes very basically and sometimes in a much different way than everybody else is looking at it. And it has provided such immense joy in my everyday way of life, and I don't know where I would be without creativity.
Mike, please introduce yourself and tell students what creativity means to you as an author and artist.
Sure. I'm author and illustrator Mike Lowery, and I'm the one who did all the drawings for this book, I Don't Want to Read This Book, that Max wrote. And I've also worked on a bunch of other books for kids, and creativity is very important to me. I use it all the time. And when I think of creativity, I think about using your imagination. And for me, creativity is all about using your imagination. And your imagination can make everything better. So if you're in a really boring situation, like maybe you're waiting in line or just getting a haircut or something like that, I like to use my imagination to think of little problems that I can solve. Like, what would happen if a pirate was really crazy about pizza? And what if a slimy slug went into space? What would that be like? Why would it go into space? And those are the kinds of things that I'd make for myself, and I can turn them into little stories and drawings in my sketchbook.
Max, please read the book. I Don't Want to Read This Book.
I would love to. This is I Don't Want to Read This Book, written by me, Max Greenfield, and illustrated, which, as you know, is the hard part, by Mike Lowery. The book for kids who don't like to read books. I Don't Want to Read This Book, written by Max Greenfield, and illustrated, again, the hard part, by Mike Lowery. But you guys know that. Here we go. Are you ready? I don't want to read this book. I know it happens to be the title of this book, but let me make myself very clear. I really don't want to read it. I mean, why would I read this book? I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to open up the front cover only to find pages with, let me guess, I'm going to get there. Words. Sometimes a lot of words. But this is not one of those pages. But this one is. Look at that. Words. Look, most words are fine, like cake and YouTube. But some words are just plain ridiculous. Take the word doubt, for example. But what is a bee doing there? If no one can hear the bee, why do we have to see it? I doubt whoever put it there was very smart at all. Other words are just too big, like infinitesimal. If you can believe it, this word means small. Words like infinitesimal are the exact reason I don't want to read this book. As if words weren't bad enough, I'm sure this book also has its fair share of sentences, which are just too many words all smushed together with a period at the end. Sentences are the worst. I don't ever want to read a book that has a sentence in it. Period. Which brings me to paragraphs. I do not, under any circumstance, want to read a book with a single paragraph in it. Did you know that a paragraph can be more than half a page long? I have seen some that take up an entire page. I mean, what are these paragraphs trying to prove? Just looking at a paragraph exhausts me. I mean, all of those words. I would love to meet a person who is able to read a full paragraph and not lose their train of thought. As if anyone on Earth wouldn't lose interest after a sentence or two and start thinking about other things, like how Ozzy threw his snack at Tilly today right in the middle of class and how no one could believe it, and how Tilly was like, "What is wrong with you, Ozzy?" and how Ozzy was like, "What is wrong with you?" It was just plain... Hold on. Wait a minute. Where was I again? Oh yeah, paragraphs. I don't want to read a book that has a paragraph in it. Paragraphs belong in chapter books, and chapter books are for people with nothing better to do. Chapter 2. Still don't want to read this book. All the things I could be doing that are more important than reading this book. 1, eating cake. 2, eating cake while watching YouTube. 3, watching YouTube and not eating cake. But truth be told, I much prefer to be eating cake. My brain hurts. And my eyes feel tired. Reading this book has been a truly miserable experience for me. I can't believe I'm almost done with this book. I did not want to read it. After I'm done, yes, I'm going to need some space. Ugh. Really don't want to read the last page. I already know what it's going to say. It's how all books end, as if anything could be more predictable. Let's just get it over with, I guess. Well, here we go. Yay. The end. Can't believe I just read this book. The chances of it ever happening again are infinitesimal. Thank goodness. Some space.
What inspired you to write this story?
Well, it really was my experience as a parent and as a young, reluctant reader myself. My kids don't like to read books at night. And every night before bed, we would go through all the books in their room, and I would say, "Do you want to read this book? Do you want to read that book?" And they would usually say no. And they would have a reason for not wanting to read each one of them. And so when the opportunity to write a children's book came around, I thought, what if we just took that conversation and put it into a book and titled it, "I Don't Want to Read This Book," and have it be all the reasons why a child or an adult doesn't want to read a book.
Why is humor important to you, especially when dealing with important topics like learning how to read?
Well, laughing is just the best way to deal with almost anything. Life is so serious, or can be so serious, and I feel like it's just a waste if you're not laughing.
You were a reluctant reader as a kid. So how did the written word end up becoming important in your life as an actor and author?
Yes, I definitely was. It's funny. I was a reluctant reader, but I loved books. And I really wanted to participate and be a part of reading books. I found reading to be really difficult for me. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, I'm much older than you, but now what's available is audiobooks and different ways to process reading. So it was never really the content that I was reluctant towards. It was the process of actually reading and the skill of reading, which I found to be difficult. And eventually I got there, but it's still challenging to me sometimes. And it really has been about finding the right books and the right material that I really want to invest in reading.
How can kids and adults find joy in reading?
Yeah, I think the joy comes from discovering what we like and what we respond to, and what changes our mind, and what we can explore and discover. That's what's so much fun. Finding a book that brings you to a new world, or that challenges your imagination. Those are the ones that really bring so much joy to me, and I know probably to anyone.
What questions should kids ask themselves when they sit down to create an original story?
It's the same question that you would ask an adult when they sit down to create a story or to tell a story. And I think it's, well, what's my own experience? What am I drawing from? Because the easiest things to write, the easiest stories to tell, are the ones that are true to you and the ones that you know. So the question I think that I always ask myself is, well, what's my own experience, and how can I put that into whatever I'm creating?
What should they do if they get stuck? What inspiration helps writers' ideas flow?
Ooh, getting stuck happens all the time. And sometimes it can be frustrating. And I think to avoid that frustration, because again, to go back to what we talked about earlier, is that this should all be fun and this should be joyful. And telling stories, writing stories, it all should be joyful. So I think to avoid the frustration, the best thing to do is to step away from it and to live your life and to go experience something outside of the frustration of sitting there and being stuck. And I think it's when I step away from telling a story, or when I step away from the creative process and allow myself to completely forget it, is when I can come back to it with a new perspective.
How does creativity work as a team exercise?
Creating on your own is a wonderful experience. Creating together with another person or a group of people is a completely different experience, and I think a much more rewarding one. And this process was probably the most direct version of that, where I wrote a story, and then I sent the words over to Mike, and then Mike made that story come to life.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing about working in group, is that sometimes it can be a little harder because you kind of have to take other people's opinions into account. But I think in a project like this, you pull from people's strengths. So we got to use Mac's cool words and my, pretty good drawings, and we put them together and we made this book.
Mike, you have a sketchbook, and you've said you're always drawing. Tell us about that, please.
Yes, that's right. I love keeping a sketchbook. In fact, I have been keeping a sketchbook for more than 20-something years now. And the reason I keep a sketchbook every single day is because I feel like creativity and drawing, it's kind of like this thing that you have to exercise like anything else. If you want to get good at a certain sport, you have to practice at it to get better. And a sketchbook is that for me. And so I keep a sketchbook with me when I'm on trips and traveling, and I keep a sketchbook with me when I'm doing boring stuff. And I think that it's really important, especially if you like to draw and you want to get better at it, to keep a sketchbook yourself. It's a great place to make notes about things that you ate, do little drawings about something funny that happened, and keep track of ideas and come up with your own stories.
What can you do when you want to create, but you're feeling stuck?
I think a lot of people talk about writer's block. You've heard of writer's block before, but there's also drawer's block. I don't know if that's really a word or not. But drawer's block is just this thing where I go to get in my sketchbook and I try to draw something every day and I can't think of something to draw. So what I do is I've created these little games for myself that help kind of unlock something. And one of those things that I like to do is I like to combine two things that don't normally go together and make a drawing out of that. And the cool thing about that too is that sometimes a little story can come out of that too. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right. If I'm working in my sketchbook, I can't think of something to draw. What I've done is, over the years, I've come up with this method, which is that I create these little games for myself. And one of those games is to combine two things that don't normally go together. Think about some things that don't normally go, like there's an animal, maybe a dragon or a T-Rex. And what would be something weird that T-Rex could be doing? Look at this. What if our T-Rex wasn't extinct? What if instead our T-Rex was still alive and it happened to be a T-Rex pirate? So I'm going to draw a T-Rex here that's a pirate. And this might be for you something that you make a list first. I just started drawing right away, but maybe you make a list of some animals, and then maybe next to that list of animals, you draw a list of jobs. Look at these little tiny T-Rex arms. Look, there's one T-Rex arm, and then this little T-Rex arm. Do you know what's on the end of this one? A little hook. So now here's our little T-Rex pirate. I feel like a T-Rex pirate would say something. Let me see if I can move this down to where you can see it. Maybe our T-Rex pirate, instead of saying like "R," would say like "Rar, matey." And I think sometimes just sitting down, making some drawings. Look, now a little story is starting to come together. Why is this dinosaur a pirate? Why does this dinosaur pirate have a patch over its eye? How did it lose that eye? This is one of the things I like to do when I can't think of something to draw.
Mike, can you demonstrate how we can illustrate our creative superpowers with expressive lettering?
So drawing isn't always just, drawing pictures and animals. A big part of the drawing, like in my book with Max, all I drew was words. And I like to draw words a lot. And words can be a lot of fun when they're drawn and they can be really expressive. Now I'm going to tell you the number one rule of drawing words is that your goal is to make it legible. You want to make sure that people can read it when you're done. So I'm going to draw just an easy word, something real fun, a word that has a lot of action, very expressive word. And that word is yay. It's 3 letters, Y-A-Y, yay. And maybe an exclamation point. But I'm going to start by drawing mine like this. When I draw letters, sometimes I like to draw real big, bold letters. For a word like yay, you have to draw it real big, bold. There's the Y. There's the A. And then, do you remember how this one ends? It ends with another Y. Y, because it's how it ends. And then I'll draw a little exclamation point on mine. Now, yay can be a lot of fun on its own. If I just wrote it out like this, if I just wrote yay, that doesn't really say yay the way that I want it to say yay, right? Like, that's kind of boring. So I'm going to make mine have this big burst around it like this. So it's like Yay. You know, like a big, happy yay. You know, another word that can be really expressive. If I wanted to draw the word wow in my sketchbook, I mean, I don't want to just write W-O-W. Let's start again with some big block letters like this. Wow, like that. But let me show you something that I like to do to really make my letters stand out. Sometimes I like to add these little blocks behind it. Look at this. You know, sometimes I want when people see, if somebody sees me writing wow, I want them to say wow. Maybe you're saying wow right now. I can't hear you because I'm on the other side of the computer right now. So letters can be really expressive. They can be a lot of fun to draw.
Thanks, Max and Mike, for sharing your inspirational ideas.
Oh, man. Well, thank you for having us, and obviously you're welcome.
It was great to be here, and I guess we'll see you next time.
And thank you to all the kids in schools and homes across the country for joining us today. Educators and parents, we hope you and the kids enjoyed this creative exploration. Be sure to check out more exciting Creativity Week ideas at Crayola.com/creativityweek. And please share your kids' artwork so others can see their creative superpowers and how they give words personality.